So, very good evening to all of you. Today we will be initiating the chapter number 14. It's very much part of your term 2 syllabus of CPSC, and the name of the chapter is ecosystem. So, first thing we do always that we check the title of the chapter, that what ecosystem is. So, we will start with that only. In this current chapter also we will proceed like that. So what is ecosystem? That's the first thing we are going to study. So it's a functional unit of nature, like it's a functional unit where living organisms will be in continuous interaction with the physical environment, and they are interacting with each other also. Now, many people have a misconception that ecosystem is something which is very much physical. It's not. When I'm talking about desert ecosystem, that doesn't mean that specific area of desert is talking about ecosystem. Ecosystem will be made up of the area, all and all physical as well as biological factors which are under constant interaction with each other. So it's basically a unit of nature which is functional. Now in last chapter I told you that whole living organisms world can be subdivided into different like we call it cumulatively as biosphere. In biosphere there are biomes, and each biome will have several ecosystems. So basically this word ecosystem is combination of two words. One is eco. The meaning of Greek meaning of this word eco is environment, and next word that is very important is system. Here systems means to say that it is indeed interacting, independent, concept. So if anyone is studying ecosystem, we call it ecology. So ecology means study of ecosystem. By this time, almost we reached to the last unit of grade 12. All biology students know what is the meaning of logy. It is derived from a Greek word called logos, which means study. So ecology means the study of environment, and people who are pro in this, that means they are like studying ecosystem are called ecologists. Okay, so let us see what is next. So each ecosystem can be subdivided depending on which area they exist. Terrestrial ecosystems, for example, like may have like include forest, grassland, desert. In place of aquatic ecosystem, it can be a pond, it can be a lake, wetland, it can be river, estuary. Estuary is a place where river meets the ocean. And we can talk about man-made ecosystems also, because man-made ecosystems are something which are actually very much made by us. For example, you must have seen specialized zoological park created by us. There, we are controlling the interaction of each and every organism. If I am having an aquarium in my house, I can decide what are the fishes to be put inside it, how it will interact. So these are example of man-made ecosystem. Okay. So next to this, we will talk about the structure and function of ecosystem. Any doubts till this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So before we move ahead, I wish to share with you about a broader classification of ecosystem that I wish to share with you. So uh, ecosystem, okay. So they can be classified on the basis of their nature that we studied, that uh, on the basis of their nature, we can classify them as natural ecosystem and second, can you guess? It is artificial ecosystem. So all man-made ecosystems are coming under this artificial ecosystem. Okay. So natural ecosystem can include anything, beta. A village, a meadow, a pond, a lake, anything. Okay. Now, based on the duration. So here, very interestingly, I wish to share. Uh, this can be temporary or it can be permanent. You must be wondering, ma'am, how can ecosystem be temporary? It should be always permanent, no? So the thing is that, beta, these temporary ecosystem exist for some time. Have you seen, like while traveling across Gujarat, there are certain rivers, certain ponds, which are like active only during this rainy season. Have you noticed ever? Beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Or let me tell you example, like let me write down examples everywhere. Here I will write about the pond ecosystem. Here in artificial ecosystem, I wish to mention about kitchen garden or even the aquarium. Okay. Temporary, it exists for some time. For example, rain fed pond. So where only water is present only during the like rainy season or lab culture of plant. So till the time I am culturing plants in the lab, they are there. Post that they will not be there in that ecosystem. So permanent ecosystem will be permanent, for example, a forest. But the way we are proceeding, even the permanent ecosystems are at stake, isn't it? And based on their size also we can classify them as micro ecosystem and macro ecosystem. So what is the concept of macro and micro? Consider I am talking about a site under stone. I don't know how many times you people went to a place where one stone or even one brick is there. You know, many a time construction site had one brick. If you look just below that brick, the grasses will be yellow, and so many insects are comfortably accommodating themselves in below that brick, and they are very happily living over there. The moment you are turning the brick, they will come out. Okay, so that is part of a very big ecosystem. Consider you have a ground by the side of your house, and there at one corner, like one or two bricks were kept. So below that brick, they made their own world. So that is example of micro ecosystem. Okay, and in macro ecosystem, we can talk about ocean. Okay, or a forest, we can talk about desert, anything. So depending on which basis we want to uh, like uh, we can classify further like this. Is it all right, Beta? Is it understandable? Can we move ahead? Dish, Abhi, please confirm.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I am having one doubt.
yes, definitely.
Ma'am, that lab culture of plant can come in artificial ecosystem because it is
It
a
can
man-made.
be, it can be. It is falling under both the criteria. It can be artificial. That's why I told you. When it depends on which parameter I am classifying it, it can have different part of different types of examples.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so we will move ahead. Now we will talk about the scope to study ecosystem, or rather to say scope of study of ecosystem. So the major and most important scope is to study the interaction of so this is my star scope for study of ecosystem, but it's very broad kind of criteria and includes so many things. So we will try to look into different types based. First of all, study of ecosystem means uh, we study the nutritive relations between organisms. Why? Because ecosystem, the most important thing through which each organisms are connected with each other directly or indirectly is the nutrition, isn't it? Next is बोलते हैं ना, there is a कहावत in Hindi that everything is सवाल of पापी पेट, है ना? Whatever we do is a matter of papi पेट. So same way, the one of the most important scope is to study the nutritive relationship. So the next point is that interaction between organism and environment. Next, third point, we can study the cycling of matter, which is a very, very important aspect of ecosystem. Have you studied the law of creation of mass or law of conservation of mass?
Yes, ma'am.
What it says?
Mass can neither be created nor be destroyed.
So that means when Earth was created from sun, whatsoever matter was present in Earth, we are still using that. So it's not possible unless and until we are going for cycling of matter. So that is something very important. And last but not least, we are going to study the flow of energy to. So under this broad heading, that interaction of biotic and abiotic factors, these are the small sub factors that we are going to study in this chapter. Okay, so we will move ahead. So when I am talking about biotic and abiotic component, that is the structure of ecosystem. If we consider Earth as a very, very, very big ecosystem, which is comprised of so many things, in every ecosystem, wherever in Earth you go, the factors may change, but their classification is same, that they will be classified as biotic and abiotic components. So what is so special about these biotic components and abiotic components? So in case of biotic components, that they are living, and in abiotic component they will be non-living. Okay, so biotic components are distributed in an ecosystem in specific level. This level-wise distribution of biotic components are known as stratification. For example, if I'm talking about a forest here, this example is given. So trees are long, so they are present in the top layer of ecosystem. Then there will be shrub, and herbs and grasses will be present at the bottom layer of ecosystem. Always remember this stratification, do not get confused with the trophic level. That's a separate thing. Stratification means when I'm looking into a ecosystem from top to bottom, what are the layers or strata? What are the organisms which will be found in each and every strata is that detail is called stratification of ecosystem. Okay, now once I talk about the biotic components of ecosystem, for example, we will let us learn this with the help of an example. For example, here we are talking about a pond ecosystem, which is falling under aquatic ecosystem. So pond is a self-sustainable water body. Why we are using this word self-sustainable? Because It has organisms like plants and animals, and rarely it requires help from outside to survive. So there will be abiotic components present. Here it is mentioned as water and soil deposit, but without sunlight, we cannot imagine about ecosystem. Okay, so sunlight is very, very, very important aspect of ecosystem, and without it, we will never ever be able to think. Climatic conditions are also coming under abiotic components. For example, solar include. There is a cycle of temperature. You must have noticed that different seasons are there, and there will be presence of so there are climatic conditions which we cannot ignore. Apart from that, there will be autotrophic components. Like these are the components which are called as producers of ecosystem, and they are present at the highest part of trophic level. Here in pond ecosystem, the autotrophic components will be phytoplankton. Can Abhi tell me what is phytoplankton, beta? We talked about phytoplankton, I guess. Phytoplankton and zooplankton. What are they, Nish and Abhi?
Component.
What type of component? See, I told you
May I
planktons means they are the unicellular microscopic structures or which are floating on the surface of water. If they are made from plant kingdom, we call them phytoplankton. And if their association with the animal kingdom, we can call them zooplankton. So algae, unicellular algae, which are falling under protista, are coming into this phytoplankton. Okay, so they are autotrophic components. Apart from them, there can be floating and submerged and marginal plants. Apart from that, these producers, the food or energy is produced by producer. They use some of its part, and then it is transformed to the consumer. Consumers are heterotrophs. Here, heterotrophs can be zooplankton, and there can be free swimming and bottom dwelling forms, which can be including birds, different insects. There can be fishes. All of them are coming under consumer. Now we will talk about the last but not least part of ecosystem, which is generally never ever shown in food chain, but they are the one of the most important person, or I should not call them person, they are most important entities which are responsible for cycling of the nutrient. That means what they do? They are responsible for maintaining the balance of earth, because as I said, we cannot import mass from anywhere else. Whatever we have, we need to recycle. So these are known as reducers or decomposers, which will include unicellular organisms like fungi, bacteria, or other flagella bearing organisms. They are actually decomposing the autotrophs and the heterotrophs, and then they will convert it into a form which can be utilized further. Okay. Just for a knowledge, I am asking, do you know the types of autotrophs? How many types of autotrophs are possible? These
Yes, ma'am. Chemoautotrophs, heterotrophs, photoautotrophs.
heteroautotrophs.
नहीं, chemoautotrophs and photoautotrophs.
So what is the difference between chemoautotrophs and photoautotrophs?
Ma'am, in chemoautotrophs, it will come as chemical substances will be included, and in photoautotrophs, by photosynthesis, water lights.
So can you tell me the reaction of photosynthesis?
वही हुआ ना ग्लूकोज वाला.
So chemicals are not involved in that.
हाँ वो होंगे.
Then look upon your definition and revise and tell me what is the difference between photoautotroph and chemoautotroph. Can you elaborate?
Ma'am, they are the phototrophs are the organisms where it can get organic materials by chemical reaction.
Okay, and chemoautotrophs do not get organic material. It's not correct. See, I must say, and I request both of you to note it down somewhere. The concept of autotrophy is production of food. Okay. So this food production means it is responsible for combination of substances and conversion of it to the food. So if you see in photoautotrophy, that is example is photosynthesis, also chemicals are involved. CO2 plus H2O combined to give C6H12O6. Similarly, in chemoautotroph also have like a food product which is produced by chemical reaction only. So this concept that in photoautotrophy chemicals are not there, in chemoautotrophy chemicals are there, it's not correct. Both where chemicals are there, and let me tell you, the end product, that is the food product produced by both the autotrophs, are organic only. Although they start with inorganic substance, and it's all about conversion of these inorganic substance to organic one. Then what is the difference? You know that whenever any chemical reaction is occurring, it will be requiring energy. And this energy is requiring for exchange or sharing of electron, breaking of bond, making of new bond. So the main difference between photo and chemoautotrophy is to this source of supply of energy. In photoautotroph, light energy is used to convert the simple inorganic substance into a complex organic food. And in chemoautotrophs, energy derived by reaction of one chemical reaction is used to produce food, which is produced by another chemical reaction. I hope the concept is clear. You want me to elaborate further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So this is something I will take a pause here, and I want you people to write as per your own understanding. So you have seen the components present in pond ecosystem. Now we will know that pond will perform all functions of ecosystem. That is, pond will in pond autotrophs are there who will convert inorganic form into organic material using solar energy. There will be consumption of those food by heterotrophs, and then finally the decomposition and mineralization of dead material will be ensuring recycling. So before we move ahead about these ecosystem components, I wish to share with you the types of produce types of consumer. So we must say amongst the biotic components. So if I start from the beginning, that ecosystem can have abiotic components. Abhi, you wish to tell me about a few abiotic components? Are you there in the class? So kindly answer about abiotic components.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Abhi.
Ma'am, abiotic components are non-living components.
So any example I'm asking for?
Water,
Very good. Then, Deesh, can you elaborate
light,
further? Light.
Temperature.
Temperature is a factor, it's not component. Then we can call that soil is also a component. Okay. So in biotic component, we have layers which are producer, and producers can be further subdivided into chemoautotrophs and photoautotrophs. Okay. Second is the consumer. So can you tell me why we require consumer in ecosystem? Anyways, if in any ecosystem there is presence of plants and the microbes, in between consumer is absent. Do you think it is enough for our ecosystem to survive? What do you suggest? Consumer होते ही क्यों? What use they are of?
मैम कंज्यूमर तो होने चाहिए ना, बिकॉज वो फीड करेंगे अदर ऑर्गेनिजम्स में, तो इकोसिस्टम तो रहेगा ना.
That I agree अभी. But समझो किसी एरिया में प्लांट्स है और माइक्रोब्स है. Plants खाना प्रोड्यूस करेंगे and once they die, microbes can convert them into for recycling of product, they can convert them into the decomposed some substance. It's possible, no? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So then consumers are required for what?
Ma'am, it can affect the other organisms in the whole ecosystem.
What other organisms? No consumer in an ecosystem, only producer and decomposer. Do you think this idea will be suitable?
No, ma'am.
Why?
हम कंज्यूमर तो होने चाहिए ना इकोसिस्टम को चलाने के लिए, अदर ऑर्गेनिजम्स को खाने के लिए, तो वही.
कौन से अदर ऑर्गेनिज्म चाहिए ही नहीं ना, हमें सिर्फ डिकम्पोजर और प्रोड्यूसर चाहिए.
मैम तीनों की जरूरत होगी ना.
What is the significance of consumer? You tell me, no? You just give me one example with which you can satisfy my question and my query.
Consumers eat scavengers.
Yes. Can you repeat once again, beta?
I'm consumer eat scavengers.
Consumers are scavengers. Scavengers की जरूरत ही नहीं है ना, अगर plant और decomposers रहे तो they will scavenge what?
मैम तो कंज्यूमर तो प्रोड्यूसर को ईट तो करेगा ही ना.
Consumer, do you know the meaning of word scavenger?
हाँ मैम वही होगा ना प्रोड्यूसर्स.
नहीं नहीं, I am talking about, you know the meaning of word scavenger. Can you give example of a scavenger? Who are called scavengers?
मैम scavengers means they consumes the biomass became rooting
So you
plant
are
material को खाते
scavenger?
हैं. नहीं नहीं.
You say you don't eat biomass? You don't eat biomass. Any food we eat, what they are? They are biomass only, no?
Yes ma'am.
So, see, now as you people are preparing for NEET examination, you need to just like broaden your thinking ability. You were talking first of all about scavenger. I wish to put light in that part. Scavengers are animals which are eating dead animals. For example, vulture is a scavenger. Okay, dead or decayed part of animals are eaten by animals called scavenger. Now, crow is a scavenger. You can call crow as a scavenger. So, scavenger का point ही नहीं आ रहा है. I'm just telling you what will happen in this world if only plants and microbes are existing. Animals are not there. Then who will pollinate plants? Who will cultivate plants? Plants and animals are going hand in hand on so many things, no? So animals' presence are required. That's what I wanted to hear from you. Okay. So now these consumers are like can be further subdivided as primary consumer, say they are also called first order consumer. They are the one who are completely vegetarian, and they are, we should not call them vegetarian. The exact term that we use is herbivores. Can you give me any example of primary consumer?
Insect.
Insects, okay. They are living on plants. Very good. Which insect? These?
Insect तो insect होगा ना.
अरे बाबा, कौन से insects ऐसे which are living on plant and they are taking food from plant?
अच्छा. Okay. हाँ. Grasshoppers.
Okay, grasshoppers. Very good. Apart from that,
बस एक ही पता.
ठीक ही पता है. Primary consumer. Think and let me know. Think, no
वो
problem.
bird. अरे bird था ना एक. Hummingbird.
Hummingbird. Okay. Abhi, I want to hear a few examples from your side also, beta. Are you there, Abhi?
Yes, ma'am.
Examples of primary consumer.
Ma'am, grasshopper एक और
He said about grasshopper.
rabbit.
Very good. Rabbit, you can say, because they are herbivores. Because anything of Gujarat में बैठ के, if you can are hesitating telling me about primary consumer, then I don't have words. Can't you talk about cow, buffalo,
Goat.
goat, all snails, all of them are primary consumers. So basically, there was a scientist named Elton. He termed these primary consumers as key industry animals. Key industry animals. Why? Why such special treatment to them? Because they are the one which can convert plant biomass to animal biomass. Okay. After primary consumer, second will be secondary consumer. Okay, chalo. I ask you a very interesting question. Can plants also be consumers? What do you think? Especially primary consumers. Class? At any point of time, can plants also act as consumers?
मैम प्लांट्स हर्बीवोरस तो एनर्जी तो नहीं करेगा, लेकिन प्लांट्स तो एनर्जी को मिलेगा ना फोटोसिंथेसिस, तो आई थिंक नो होना चाहिए.
What do you think, Avi?
No, ma'am.
They can be primary consumer. Have you ever heard about insectivorous plants? They can be even secondary consumers, no? Consider an insect which is taking food from plant, and then insect eating plant which is taking that insect. They will be called as secondary consumer, yes or no? What do you suggest?
यस मैम. मैम बट प्लांट्स तो मैम फोटोसिंथेसिस से न्यूट्रिएंट्स से मिलेगा, लेकिन मैम ये हर्बीवोरस तो कहाँ से वो एनर्जी लेगा?
I'm talking about insectivorous plants.
हाँ मैम, लेकिन प्लांट, अच्छा ओके ओके मैम.
Insect eating plants are there, I guess you are aware of.
यस मैम.
Chalo. Second question, can they be primary consumer? That means plants can be feeding on plants. What do you suggest? Why long silence? Yes, they can be primary consumers too. Have you ever seen creepers on plants? Are you aware of parasitic plants? They have haustoria through which they suck the nutrient from plants. For example, Amar bale is there. Have you ever heard plants can survive on other plants?
Yes ma'am.
Yes. So they can be primary consumer. So now as you are in higher grade beta, always understand that it's not necessary plant can also be like it cannot be consumer, it can be consumer. And see, Whenever we are talking about ecosystem, one very important thing you can understand that if I am looking at from the point of view of one, that plant which is eating insect is also autotrophic. So it can play the role of producer as well as it can play the role of secondary consumer. So that's why the I told you जैसे जरदोसी की साड़ी होती है जिसमें सिलाइयाँ एक दूसरे से जोड़े हुए होते हैं, and if you like cut any one thread, it will destroy the whole design. Slowly धागा निकलता जाता है. Similarly, in ecosystem, you don't know single organism can play multiple roles. Organisms unknowingly can be interconnected with each other. So post-secondary consumer, which are generally small carnivores, like they are like, for example, fox, cat, dog, they are falling under the secondary consumer. Then there will be tertiary consumer, which are bigger than secondary consumers and eat them. For example, we can talk about wolves, and finally quaternary. Okay, so this is all about consumers. And last but not least, we need to know about reducer, or we call them decomposers. Okay, is it all right? Can we move ahead, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's get back to the presentation and have a look into. Now, when I'm talking about consumers, the consumers can be further subdivided into by considering different aspects. There can be special type of consumers, like there can be parasites. They can be secondary consumer of higher order consumers. For example, in normal cases, it is observed that secondary consumer is having bigger size than primary consumer. That's why they are able to consume them. जैसे अगर एक छोटा सा herbivores है, जैसे consider grasshopper, it is uptaken by frog, and frog is taken by snake. So snake is generally having bigger size than the frog, and then if snake is eaten by eagle, then eagle is definitely having bigger size, and so that's why it is able to eat eagle. But there are exceptions, beta. There are disease-causing organisms which are a lot more smaller than us, but they can be acting as a secondary, tertiary, or quaternary consumers. Okay. Now, another like anomaly that is observed in ecosystem is about organisms which are omnivorous. We all Bengalis are falling in this category and creates a confusion in the ecosystem. See, the flow of food energy in ecosystem is not passed that simple. When human, or there are animals like bear, they are frugivorous, that means fruit eating. They are also eating animals. So in which consumer you will make them fall? They can have a dual role of primary consumer as well as secondary or tertiary or quaternary consumer. Okay, so they are called double consumer. We can talk about plants which can act, for example, insectivorous plant, I told you, they can act as both producer and consumer, and they can be this type of anomalies. Okay, now I wish to talk about a very important aspect before we move ahead. I need to talk about the concept of material versus energy. Okay. So So when we talk about flow of energy in an ecosystem, we say that food is transferred from first to second to third different levels of consumers and producers. Now, while talking about that in ecosystem, we generally talk about energy. So do you think they are related words? What do you think? Are they related word or two separate words? I mean to say if, yes, because you know that matter can be converted into energy and energy can be converted into matter. Now I must tell you about in ecosystem or in everywhere, do you know what is the ultimate source of energy without which nothing is possible? Right?
Photosynthesis.
What is the ultimate source of energy? I'm not talking about process, I'm talking
Sun.
about source.
Sun.
Sun. So all energy is produced finally from sun. That is why it is known as the ultimate source of energy. Okay. So let us talk back and see about the structure and function, how you can assess about an ecosystem. When I am studying an ecosystem, I studied the definition, I studied about what are different components. But when I want to study it systematically, there should be some parameter common to study and know about it. So we are going to talk about these parameters called productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. So first we will talk about productivity. So what is this productivity? Productivity is all about how much production is there. So as I mentioned that sun or solar energy is the main important aspect. Okay. So from which biomass or organic matter is produced. So this amount of biomass produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis is known as primary production. Total amount of biomass produced over a time period in a area via photosynthesis is known as primary production. So how many parameters are involved in this definition? First parameter is amount of biomass. Second is per unit area. Third is over a time period. So that's why when I am expressing primary production, the unit is wet, that is amount of biomass, and then it is either it is like that or it is expressed in the form of energy. Okay. So the rate of biomass production is called productivity and it is termed as, this is the amount of biomass and this is the amount of time. So productivity can be measured either in terms of mass or it can be measured in terms of energy. Both the ways it is fine because they are interconvertible. Now, this primary productivity can be further subdivided into gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. So let us understand what they are. Productivity can have secondary level. This is the rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers. So when we consumers eat food, for example, I will give you a best example. You know that we eat food basically in one form. Let us consider starch. Okay. Do you think we have starch in our body, beta? Animals have starch in their body. After eating that food, once it is inside our digestive system, what we will get?
Yes, ma'am.
What we will convert into that starch? Human being converted into which component?
Glucose.
And then glycogen, isn't it?
Glycogens.
So
Yes.
glycogen was not existing in plants, but it is existing in animal. So this is example of new organic material which is produced by consumers, which was not present in producer. So amount of such new material produced in terms of either mass or energy per unit time is known as secondary productivity. Understood? So, do you think primary productivity of all ecosystem will be same? What do you suggest? No, na? In pond ecosystem, in desert ecosystem, everywhere primary productivity will be different. It will depend on what plant species are inhabiting in an area. For example, if I'm talking about water body, the primary productivity is too huge because of high surface area and microscopic organisms involvement in production of food. Apart from what plant species is present in that area, there can be environmental factors. For example, in an area where there is too much harsh sunlight and plants do not have option to go for production of food, their survival itself is a channel. Obviously, productivity will be low, isn't it? There should be availability of nutrients if it is scarce. In case, for example, in desert ecosystem, plants cannot have equal productivity of aquatic ecosystem. Okay. Then the photosynthetic capacity of the plant. So all these are factors which are actually controlling the primary productivity of the. So annual net primary productivity of whole biosphere is approximately 170 billion ton. That is also dry weight. Do you know what is the meaning of difference between this dry weight and like biomass? Class?
No, ma'am.
In biomass, when I'm measuring biomass, there will be presence of water and dry weight is without water. So consider I have a piece of plant. After collecting, if I'm measuring its weight, it will be called biomass. If I kept it under sun, I dehydrated it and then I'm measuring, it is called dry weight. Okay. So productivity of ocean is 55 billion tons out of 170 billion. So I must say that productivity decides how stable the ecosystem can be. Any doubts till this time? I request both of you to go for your textbook once and check the part we studied. I will take a pause and then we will continue further. See, when I am talking about primary productivity, it is equal to gross primary productivity plus net primary productivity. So what are these things? See, gross primary productivity determined as PG. Okay, it's talking about the it's about talking about the amount of energy produced by the green plant. Okay, and when I'm talking about net primary productivity, which is termed as PN, okay, it's talking about the amount of plant product that is stored in the plant. So you must be imagining, consider, let me tell you, a plant is producing 1,000 grams of substance. Consider, out of these thousands grams of substance produced by plant, do you think it can store whole 1,000 grams? Plant will require some amount for its own purpose, no beta?
Yes, ma'am.
They need to go for photosynthesis. They have equal need of energy. So in net primary productivity, the in case of green plant, it is equal to the amount of product produced minus the amount of product utilized for different physiological activities like respiration and others. So if you are minusing that part, you will get the net primary productivity. Okay, so net primary productivity, that is PN, is equal to PG minus R. Okay. Is it clear, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, anyone?
No, ma'am.
So I wish to talk about a few other equations also here, which will be very useful for you to, for the purpose of NEET. Here there is a concept of NEET secondary productivity also, which is termed as P2N. It will be also equal to gross secondary productivity minus R. That is, if animal is producing some amount of glycogen, out of that some will be utilized for respiration by that animal. After its deduction from gross primary productivity, you will get the net primary productivity, which is present there for storage. Okay. Any other equation you want to talk, Dish?
No, ma'am.
So I guess we will stop here today. In like next lecture, we will start with the concept of decomposer and move ahead. Okay. So we will utilize the rest of the time of the class for revision of that chapter number 2, and you can ask me any questions. So I'm stopping the teaching learning process of this chapter number 14 over here. Okay.